Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Vecna, Eve of Ruin. We're going to talk about Chapter 8, Dragon Queen's Pride. The Dragon Masters. They have met every Pit Master, okay? They have met Resrin Algrodro. The Pit Master for the Viridian Den. They have met Uvashar, the Pit Master for the Scarlet, for the Alabaster Racetrack. They have met Uvashar. Uvashar is over the Scarlet. Uvashar is over the Alabaster Racetrack, and Kaelin Renadon is over the Stygian Maze, and the Red Abishai Kai Kiroth is over the Scarlet Colosseum, and there's also the Viridian Den. So there's the Viridian Den, there's the Scarlet Colosseum, there is the Alabaster Racetrack, there is the Stygian Maze. There's all these different attractions, right? They've also met Windfall, the winged tiefling, who is literally a vessel which has had some of Tiamat poured into her, okay? And she is a dragon standing on two humanoid feet. Incredibly dangerous, right? Really an adult, think of an adult red dragon standing in front of you, 6 feet tall, right? And that's a big deal. I love that, like, because it's hard to get dragons into Dungeons and Dragons because they're so deadly, right? People make these incredibly, valuable characters, and then you don't want them to just get chomped in the teeth of a dragon. And when player characters come up, when Dragon Master characters come in front of a dragon, there's a good chance one of them is going to die, and that's a fundamentally life-changing event for the Dragon Master player, for the Dungeon Master, for the Dungeons and Dragons player. Losing a player character is traumatic. It's an important thing. Only at the worst tables is a replacement character. Only at like Seth Skorkowski's table is a replacement character pulled out, and like everybody's like, "Oh, your character's dead. Sorry you lost 9 months of your life. Don't dare take 1 second to mourn, because you're not going to do any learning, growing, improving, or transforming at this table. Make sure you pull out your next stupid piece of paper that's as useless as the one that was before it," right? Like, at real Dungeons and Dragons tables, people care about the investment. And so dragons are incredibly dangerous. I mean, if you put them in front of people, it's harrowing. It's a moment of loss, right? And it's highly unlikely that you put an adult dragon against any player character group at any level and all of them remain alive, right? So that's why Dungeons and Dragons is fraught with this problem of there's very rarely any dragons to be talked about because it's so dangerous, right? So it's important to understand that. All right. Finally, the player characters, either from Uvashar, from Kaelin Renadon, from Kai Kiroth, from Resrin Algrodro, right? From one of these pit masters, they finally get the invitation. They gamble well, or they win the nightmare race, or they make it through the Stygian Maze and they've undone 10 different traps, and there was an audience that was cheering them when they hauled out treasure, right? Or they went into the Scarlet Colosseum and they defeated a great purple worm. They could defeat a purple worm. Like, they've done something of real significance, something that people cheered at, something that was a show in itself, right? Like, and the pitmasters are like, "You've earned it. We're inviting you to Dragon Master's Pride." It's a big deal, right? It's really important, and it's powerful, right? And this is really fascinating to just see this transition, right? And this period, right? So finally, the Dragon Master characters are invited into Dragon's Pride, the invitation-only club. Now, the reality is, I've been talking about Dragon's Pride, but that's not really where they're trying to get to. Inside Dragon's Pride is another space, and that space is the Ruby Sanctum. Now, what is the Ruby Sanctum? Well, it's where we finally find the final piece of the rod of 7 parts, what this entire book has been moving toward, right? So at this point, we get to this point where we're at the red dragon's tail, right? Excuse me. We finally get to the Ruby Sanctum, right? And at this point, the player characters have overcome many dangers, right? And at this point, what they find when they infiltrate into Ruby Sanctum, what they find is they find the final piece of the rod of 7 pieces, and it's being used to do one thing. It's been placed here by Windfall. And Windfall, this is really interesting. So in, I think it was chapter 7, we went through the Tombs of Wayward Souls. Worst chapter in this book by far. And Asarak had a henchman named Rerak, right? But Rerak hated Asarak, right? Because Asarak had trapped Rerak in this dungeon forever. But Windfall is a completely different henchman. She, right, and actually she is a villain serving an uber villain, right? And she's been given independence, and she genuinely loves Tiamat. She worships Tiamat, and she understands what Tiamat is. Tiamat is not a dragon who crunches you between her teeth, right? Tiamat is a dragon that exists on multiple realms simultaneously, right? She's Tiamat on Avernus, but she's Takesis on Dragonlance, right? And she is worshipped as Takesis, and she is worshipped as Tiamat. And she's on 6 other realms, right? She's super, super powerful, right? And Windfall loves her, right? And she also knows Tiamat's history. So what is Tiamat's history? So Tiamat, super evil, met with Bahamut, super good, and they made a consolidated, balanced world, okay? Light and dark, right? But then the great cataclysm came, and it shattered everything into all the material planes that we see now, right? So this is why the material plane is in all these different realms. And, so you have Dragonland, you have the world of Kryn here, and you have the world of Forgotten Realms here. Now, why are they separate realms? Because they were shattered in the great cataclysm, okay? Now, before the great cataclysm came, Bahamut and Tiamat made the first red dragon. That red dragon's name was Sardior, okay? That red dragon's name was Sardior. And Windfall has created in the Ruby Sanctum, a simulacrum, a light-based form of Sardior. She has crafted an actual real-to-life size simulacrum made of ruby light of Sardior, right? It's a creation. It's all like when I create a tower ruin, right, with Lego that is the Red Dragon's Tail Tower, right? That's a simulacrum of this thing that exists on the Forgotten Realms, right? She has made, so Windfall has carefully crafted a form of Sardior, okay? And she's done this, created it out of ruby light, right? With the Rod of 7 Pieces. And the Rod of 7 Pieces is incredibly powerful. One thing I love about Vecna Eve of Ruin that Amanda Heyman did a fantastic job bringing forward is that she's like, hey, all these super powerful magic items, yeah, you've read what it does in the book, but it does stuff way beyond that, right? And any inventive person who gets any of these devices, even a part of one of these devices, can make it do 100 other things, right? And what Amanda Heyman is saying there is all these artifacts, all these relics, right? What's in the book is simply the start of what that thing does, right? If you connect it to any warlock, any sorcerer, any wizard, they're going to tweak this, they're going to turn this dial up, turn this dial down, and it's going to do different stuff, right? And I love that. I love that aspect of Dungeons & Dragons. That what's in the book is not the limit. It's just the start, right? Like, it's like, yeah, we're bringing some good ideas. That's not where it ends, right? Your character's an adventurer. They know a wizard. Turn the dial. Do something else with it, right? Like, it's amazing. And here, Windfall has created this this simulacrum of Sardior, and now her goal, what she's going to do next, is she is working on a ritual, right, to bring Sardior to life in the on Avernus, right? And she's doing this because she wants to honor Tiamat. And she's like, I know you lost Sardior long ago in the Great Cataclysm, but here's the simulacrum, right? And get this, it could work or it could be a terrible failure, right? Like, Tiamat may kill Windfall for, like, making something that is a poor form of the original. Or she might weep and say, Windfall, I'm going to give you another aspect of myself, and I'm going to make you 10 times more powerful than you are. But Windfall is an adventurer. She risks stuff, right? She's a villain, right? And Tiamat is an uber villain. It's cool. There's so much coolness in this story. And every single D&D canon hardback is just drenched with this stuff. It's so powerful, right? And so finally, the player characters find out what Windfall has been working on. And at this point, they fight Windfall. Windfall has 300 hit points, right? And if they take her down to 0, at a point where she would normally go into death fails, Tiamat will restore 300 of her hit points immediately, right? Like, Windfall throws down. She is an absolute reaper, right? And she will guaranteed kill one of the player characters. Guaranteed, right? Not the whole party. She's not a TPK, right? But she is definitely like, okay, you brought 4, you going out with 3, you going out with 2, maybe you going out with 1, right? I am a vessel, and I contain the power of Tiamat, right? Not all of it, but a lot of it, right? Like, and I have a link to her, and she can give me new powers, new hit points, new danger, and whenever I need it. Because she ain't just a regular dragon. This is Tiamat. She made the material plane, right? Like, it's huge, right? So finally, the player characters get to this point, and what's interesting though is the player characters are not going to fight Tiamat, and the reason why is Tiamat will TPK all of them, and then that's sad. If the player characters are like, oh, we're going through the tunnels, we're going to find Tiamat, you're like, that's great, come on through. You're all dead. Thanks for playing Vecna Eve of Ruin. Now I will talk to you all guys. I'll talk to all 4 of you 4 weeks from now when you have mourned for all of your characters and you're ready to start again, right? Like your player characters go against Tiamat, they're gonna die. No two ways about it. Tiamat is on multiple realms. These guys haven't even figured out how to jump from one realm to another more than once a month at this point. Like, it's just not. So finally, they see what Windfall has done, and at this point, this is really fascinating. Amanda Hammond's like, hey, this doesn't have to be a fight. They're so close that all they have to do is talk to Windfall, and Windfall is empowered by Tiamat to give them the final rod piece. Why would Tiamat tell Windfall to give them the final rod piece? Well, the reason why is Vecna's going to remake the entire multiverse. Tiamat made the multiverse, right? She doesn't want it remade for some, itchy archlich, right? So Tiamat can realize these characters, they have already shown their power because they have 6 pieces of the Rod of 7 Parts, right? They're connected to the Wizard's 3, right? And Tiamat knows all this, right? And has been getting messages from other, minions and from henchmen and from other villains that serve her, right? And so this is the one time where they may not need to fight. If they do it right, they don't need to fight for this part. They can just say, hey, Tiamat, we're this close. We're ready to fight Tiamat. If you give us this final rod piece, we will take the completed Rod of 7 Parts to the Wizard's 3, and we will destroy Vecna with it, right? And so Tiamat may even send Windfall with them, right? Like, it's huge, right? And so this is I love this. I thought this was a really unique description of how this chapter could end. And I will tell you right now, I loved so many. I really did not like chapter 7 of this book. Thought it was really kind of a big misstep. But there's so many great chapters, and I want to say this is my favorite chapter, but I really like the Spelljammer chapter too. Um, actually, the Spelljammer chapter was amazing. This one was amazing. This is one of the best chapters in the entire book, Vecna Eve of Ruin, in my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion on what's cool in Chapter 8. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.